Come out and fight me like a man!
I need to get out of here. This is it. I'm going to die. Oh my goodness. It's him. The Alpha.
Explain yourself.
I can't believe he saved me.
You're trying to run away from me again.
That kiss. It was everything. It felt like a tidal wave breaking in me. Little did he know it was my first kiss ever. But I can't fall for him. It doesn't change anything. He hates me, and I hate him. What is that? Who is that?
Why is this happening to me? All I wanted to find a mate and feel normal. How it all started.
No run for you this morning? I know, I sound like a broken record, but maybe running will kickstart your powers.
I know, Aunt Eve. I'm working on it. Sorry. I'm sorry, I've just been in a weird mood lately. But I'm going to Juniper's and Cedars soon, so maybe I'll meet them.
Planning more mischief?
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, I heard about the commotion you made last night. What were you thinking, Trinity, running off from the party into rival territory? Causing the Alpha to risk his life to rescue you from your own foolishness. What if he banishes you? What's your plan then?
Stop interfering in my life!
Interfering? I'm helping you. You should be grateful for that.
I hate this pack. I hate being me. Stupid, unmated, unshape-shifting me. I need to get out of here. This is it. I'm going to die.
Explain yourself.
I can't believe he saved me.
You're trying to run away from me again.
Your clothes, sir.
Noah? What are you doing here?
You have no excuse to be journeying these parts, and look, even if you are just a powerless halfie, even the Alpha can't deny the command of the goddess.
What? What are you trying to say?
You two imprinted on each other. You're going to be the Alpha's mate.
She made a mistake.
She never makes a mistake.
Well, she did now.
No,
Okay.
she did not. What are we talking
She's
about?
awake.
Oh, good. Finally. Hello, young one. Come, sit, join us. I'm one of the 5 elders of the Wolf Pack.
The claiming ceremony is a ritual where the leader of the pack claims you, marks you in front of the entire pack so that they can see that you are claimed, marked. Until then, you cannot perform the duties of the Luna.
You're gonna bite me? I'm not gonna do that.
Trinity, I know this is strange, but you don't have a choice. You're going to be the Luna.
But I want to be a lawyer.
Nonsense!
You can finish out the semester. An educated Luna would be an asset to our pact. But all movement to and from the premises must be scheduled and approved.
What? Like a prisoner?
But this is the start of a new life.
How the goddess is this my life now?
Now go on, go see your new room.
She may be my mate, but only in name.
How am I possibly expected to mate with someone who hates me? I'm no one's captive. I'm sneaking out of here.
Got any sevens?
Go fish.
Did you hear that?
Oh, goddess. Not a rogue wolf again.
Where do you think you're going?
I was just on a run.
Really? You just had your whole world blown up and you just wanted to get some air? Let me make one thing abundantly clear to you. If you try to leave again before the claiming ceremony, I'll make sure it's impossible for you to ever leave the house for the rest of your life as my Luna.
Wait, why only until the ceremony?
Because once I've marked you, I can find you anywhere. Do you understand me, little bunny?
What did you just call me? I don't look like a rabbit, and I certainly don't run like one.
Well, run on home then.
Well, if you want me to go home, then you're just gonna have to carry me.
Fine.
You're nuts, you know that?
Bedtime, little bunny.
It's 5.
Not my problem. Stay put, okay?
Fine.
Fine.
He has such a power over me.
Her power over me is terrifying.
Wait, Reese. Why do this? I mean, why me?
You know I don't have a choice. But Trinity, have some confidence in yourself for Goddess' sake. Luna is confident. You're not as undesirable as you think you are.
You're dressed for the claiming ceremony.
Thank you. Well, this is it.
Today we are here to celebrate a momentous occasion. Our pack has found its Luna. She is here tonight, and I will bring her out now to mark her before you all.
Why can't he look at me? He must think I'm ugly.
Goddess, help me. I need her. Are you ready?
I think so.
Ladies and men of the Red Springs pack, I now present to you our Luna, Trinity Witten.
It was gonna be one of us. I know, I'm gonna say something.
No. I refuse to accept this. She doesn't even have her wolf yet. Do you really expect us to take her as our leader?
This is insane.
Yeah,
get her
come
off
on, guys,
there.
say something.
She doesn't deserve it.
She may not have a wolf,
But she is my chosen Luna. The goddess has spoken, and we must respect the fate. It is time. Are you ready? Be gentle, but try to stay.
This is it. The end of my life. I'm fine.
Hey. Can I come in?
Yeah.
I should have never trusted her. Look, before you get any ideas about what's gonna happen tonight, let's set some things straight.
Like what?
Like how this is gonna go. You may be my mate, but in name only.
Excuse me?
I never wanted a mate, all right? But if the goddess demands I take you, fine. But we will never be intimate, all right? You're merely an assignment to me. Is that understood?
So what? You tricked me into being your Luna by pretending there was something between us?
I never pretend. Get your emotions in check.
Well, if I'm nothing to you, then you're nothing to me.
Look.
Get out of my room, you feral dog!
What did you call me?
You heard me. If I'm a weak little bunny, then you're a disgusting dog. I will never love you.
How am I supposed to live like this? Do you always drive like that?
Like what?
Like a jackass, to put it lightly.
You really need to toughen up, little bunny.
What are we doing at your cousin's place anyway?
Cousin! You made it!
Riley.
It's good to see you, man. Yeah. Been too long. And you brought your new beautiful Luna. What is someone as gorgeous as you doing, my cousin?
All right, down, boy. She's mine.
Well, come on, let's go get a drink.
It's a long-standing treaty we have that we preside over Azure River. Your reign extends here, too.
Well, how was I supposed to know that?
Just try not to embarrass me or yourself again. Got it?
All right.
So Reese over here thought it'd be a great idea to put pillows in the bed to make it look like we hadn't snuck out. Like that was gonna work. Got us both grounded.
There are endless stories. All right, we have some snacks. Make yourselves at home. Any drinks, anyone?
Yes, please.
I'll help you out, Katie.
I just don't see Reese having that rebellious side to him.
Oh, you don't know your mate as well as I do then. This guy was always letting his wild side out. Drove his father crazy. May you rest in peace.
Yes. Riley, can I ask, what happened to him? Reese's father?
It's a terrible story, really. A rival pack infiltrated our territory. In the end, Reese's father was betrayed by a woman named Mandy. A wolfless woman. Reese was never the same.
No wonder he hates me. The woman who betrayed his father was wolfless, just like me.
All right, some drinks for you all. I'm gonna go and make sure that your room is all set up, but I'll see you in a bit.
Here, drink.
Thanks.
Cheers.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, Riley's estate's been a part of our family for years now.
Oh, not that. The music.
Oh.
Did I ever tell you about my mom?
No, but it's okay. You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
No, I want to. I never knew my mom. It was a photo of my mom at prom. She was with this boy and they were dancing. She was magnificent. Anyway, I just
Always imagined her dancing to a song like this one.
Here.
What?
Dance with me.
Right now?
Yeah.
Where?
Am I interrupting something?
Would you excuse me? I just need a moment.
Yeah, of course.
That looked intense.
Was it?
That kiss, it was everything. It felt like a tidal wave breaking in me. Little did he know it was my first kiss ever. But I can't fall for him. It doesn't change anything. He hates me, and I hate him.
What is that? Who is that?
Don't strain yourself, little Luna.
Who are you? What do you want?
Leverage, Luna. We want leverage. And now that we have you, we're gonna get it.
Who's talking to me? How am I supposed to fend off an attacker I can't see? Not a chance anyone's finding me here alive.
Please, stop. You're hurting me.
Good.
Where the hell did they take her?
We're in Warlock territory now. That must be who has her. I smell her scent faintly, but you'd be able to track her better than I could.
I can't smell her. I can't smell her at all.
Your pack thinks they're the kings of these parts. Little do they know, their time is running out. Especially with a wolfless girl like you as their all-powerful Luna.
I may be wolfless, but at least I'm not a coward too scared to show my face.
How dare you?
You picked the wrong Luna to take.
Tell your alpha, this isn't over.
Trinity's head was pounding, and she didn't know why. She squinted her eyes open to see the ground rushing by beneath her. Reese? Someone had thrown her over her shoulder, but it wasn't Reese this time. Surprisingly, he had taken much more care with her. This person was being rough, and it showed. Whoever it was, they were running, and fast. The constant movement up and down was a stabbing pain in her gut with every step they took. Their shoulder was digging into Trinity's stomach, and she could barely breathe. It took all of Trinity's focus to remember what happened. We're running out of time. She's ridiculously strong. We can't let them see us. Watch out. It all came flooding back to her. The attack, the struggle, the searing pain in her head, then everything going black. Who are these guys? What do they want from me? Trinity didn't know where she was, but she knew the further she got from Reese, the more difficult it would be for him to track her. I need to get away, and quick. Even though Trinity was only part wolf, she would still be faster than them. All she needed was to get to her feet. They clearly didn't expect her to wake up soon, so she had the element of surprise on her side. She felt her captor slow as he ran up a hill. Now's my chance. Trinity grabbed a fistful of the man's hair and yanked it back, using her grip to pull herself up and bring her knee crashing against his throat. His grip loosened as he gasped for air, buying Trinity all the time she needed to drop from his shoulder and roll to the side. As she leaped to her feet and made a run for the Alpha's house, the man screamed, alerting the others. Trinity only made it a few steps before another man grabbed her hair and pulled hard. She was yanked off her feet before landing with a crashing thud on the forest floor. Her breath rushed out of her. She was momentarily dazed. The precious time she needed to escape was lost. "You should have just kept still," 2 men approached her. They were too close for her to make a run for it again. The man whose trachea she had attempted to crush was still struggling to his feet. "Stay away from me!" Trinity scrambled backwards, putting some distance between them. Or what? He was right. She couldn't do much. But she put up one hell of a fight before and would do it again. Even if it was going to end the same way as before, with Trinity unconscious over a strange man's shoulder, she had to try. Trinity kept her eyes on the men while she felt around for anything that might help her. Her hand bumped into a large stick hidden under the leaf-strewn ground. She halted her retreat, putting a pathetic look on her face as she closed her hand around the stick. "Please don't hurt me." Trinity feigned fear, tightening her grip on the fallen branch. "That's right. Just give up." The man lunged at her, and she swung her weapon as hard and fast as she could. Her plan worked. He yelled in pain as it caught him hard across the face. He screamed as the other 2 men leaped at her. Trinity swung again, hitting one across the back of the head and the other across the face on her backswing, breaking his nose. She could smell that all 3 were bleeding now. "Is that all you got?" Trinity would fight these clowns all night if she had to. And Reese thought I couldn't protect myself. Trinity watched the men hesitate as she whipped the branch around in warning. "I may not have a wolf, but I can do plenty of damage on my own." Trinity could fight 1 man off on her own, maybe even 2. But when all 3 of them worked together, she didn't stand a chance. The 3 of them looked at each other and nodded in agreement before attacking Trinity at the same time. She swung as quickly as she could, but she wasn't fast enough. 2 of them landed on her arms, and the 3rd man pinned down her legs. "We're supposed to take you back with us, but no one told us you were such a handful." The man pinning her legs leaned forward, placing his hands on either side of her head. "Perhaps we need to make you more compliant." "Get off me!" Trinity spat the words in his face. "Don't touch me!" All 4 of them froze at the sound of a wolf snarling in the distance. "Reese." Trinity breathed his name in a sigh of relief. "I didn't think he would come for me." Trinity's heartbeat quickened. It's probably only because he had to pretend that we're a proper couple. She imagined how annoyed and embarrassed he must have been when his meeting with his cousin was interrupted. Trinity couldn't seem to do anything right. "We're out of time." One of the men interrupted Trinity's thoughts. They leapt up, releasing her. Cowards. Trinity rubbed her arms where the men had bruised her. "Don't worry. We'll be back for you." One of the men laughed as he stood. "Here's a parting gift." The man kicked her hard in the side of the head, right where they'd hit her earlier. She cried out in pain as bright stars flashed before her eyes.
"I'm coming, little bunny. I won't let them take you." Reese's wolf bounded through the woods, following the trail. He knew he was getting closer to them. Little Bunny's scent was getting stronger. He heard a man cry out in pain. Little Bunny must be awake and on the offense again. Way to go, Little Bunny. Then Reese heard the sound of Trinity crying out in pain. He snarled. His wolf didn't like them hurting his mate. The men cried out in pain again, and Reese inhaled a fresh scent of blood. None of it hers. Thank Goddess. That's my devil bunny.
"Get off me! Don't touch me!"
Reese was finally close enough to understand their words. His blood was boiling as he was imagining what prompted her to say that. "Hands off," his wolf was screaming. "Leave her alone." Reese could see her through the trees now. 3 men were pinning her down. He snarled, and all 4 of them turned to look in his direction.
"Reese."
What a relief it was to hear her say his name. "We're out of time." The men stood up and began retreating. That's right. Cowards. "Don't worry, we'll be back for you. Here's a parting gift." Reese watched as one of the men kicked Trinity hard in the side of the head. Her cry of pain launched Reese into a burst of speed, faster than he knew he could go. He saw Trinity rise to her knees as they ran away. Good. She's conscious. She was so much tougher than he thought, but she didn't seem to have the energy to get to her feet. As Reese approached, he hesitated. Do I go after them or stay with Little Bunny? He had never been torn like this before. My duty is to protect the pack. She's part of the pack. He would send Riley's men after the Warlocks. Reese shifted back to his human self as he approached Trinity. Are you alright, Little Bunny? She didn't even look at him. She just stared in the direction of the Warlocks, as if Reese wasn't even there. That blow to the head must have been bad, and she was more susceptible to injury than Reese. He knelt by her side. Hey, are you okay? She kept ignoring him. Reese moved into her line of vision, and for the first time, he could see her eyes. Trinity's eyes were glowing. Her irises, normally a bright sky blue, radiated almost white now. 2 inner circles, one a sapphire blue and the other a metallic gold, turned into the center of her eyes, almost like a camera lens permanently autofocusing and zooming. Trinity, what's going on? Reese had never seen anything like this before. He was glad he was the first one to find her like this. What would the others think of this?
They're going to get away if we don't hurry. Trinity kept her gaze in the direction of the Warlocks.
They've already gotten away. They're long gone and we couldn't track their scent.
They're right there! Trinity pointed somewhere in the trees. They're about 1,800 meters that way.
You can still see them? Not even Reese could see them.
You can't? Trinity's brow furrowed in confusion.
No, Reese answered.
Why don't you follow their scent? It's a little weird. It makes me sneeze.
Trinity, we can't smell them at all. Trinity blinked, her face a mix of confusion, exhaustion, and pain.
What do you mean you can't smell them?
None of us here can smell them. Only you.
What? Trinity's face fell. I'm the only one? Further proof I don't belong.
Why could Trinity see and smell the Warlocks when no one else could? At least you can smell them when they're trying to hide. Be on your guard next time, Reese said, to which Trinity nodded. Now that Reese knew Trinity was safe, he remembered why he was angry with her. More importantly, why the hell did you leave the spot? I told you to stay put. Reese could see Trinity preparing to argue as defiance filled her eyes, but he was not going to back down. She disobeyed him and it could have gotten her killed. His wolf shivered.
Look, mighty dog. Trinity slowly rose to her feet. I don't need...
Before she could finish her sentence, she collapsed. Reese leaped to catch her just before she hit the ground, but Reese's wolf instincts leaped into action. He caught her just as Riley and the others came into the clearing. Riley and one of his men had shifted while the other 2 remained human, so both wolf and human senses could combine to ensure nothing was missed. Riley shifted back to human form. How is she? She's been through a lot, and she's beaten up. Reese lifted her into his arms. I need to get her back to the house. The men who took her left, going that way. Reese nodded in the direction that Trinity had been staring. He began to tell Riley about her eyes, but something in him told him to wait. They have about 1.5 mile head start, maybe 2 miles now. They were heading southeast toward the highway. Deke, Nick, and Cole, track them as best you can. Riley gathered his men. Her scent may linger with them. The men nodded and ran into the woods in their direction. I'll head back to the house and prepare a room for her. I'm so sorry, Reese. This shouldn't have happened. This is my fault. No, it's mine. I should have never left her alone, and none of us thought this would happen. Reese cradled Trinity against his chest, remembering the last time he had carried her in his arms. She was asleep then. Now, she was unconscious and unlikely to wake up. That's probably a good thing. Reese was stark naked after shifting into a wolf and back. She would most likely take offense to that. Riley was already ahead at the house when Reese arrived with Trinity since he had run ahead in his wolf form. He waited in the forest with a set of clothes for Reese. Reese knew he had put Trinity down to get dressed, but something in him hesitated. He didn't want to let her go. I'm being ridiculous. He finally set her down on the ground, propped up against a tree. When he picked her up again, Trinity released a groan. She was in pain. Reese's wolf snarled. Riley led Reese into the room he had prepared for Trinity. Riley, I need to talk to you. Privately. Reese tucked Trinity in bed as Riley cleared the room, leaving just the 3 of them. What is it, Reese? There's something I need to tell you about Trinity. Reese had not told Riley or anyone in the pack that Trinity didn't have a wolf. He didn't want rumors spreading and following her everywhere. But now, Riley needed to know. What's wrong? Reese could see that Riley feared the worst. I don't want what I'm about to tell you to leave this room. You have my word, brother. Reese knew he could trust Riley. Trinity is not like the other members of the pack. She's not like you and I. What does that mean? No point in drawing it out. She doesn't have a wolf. How can that be? Reese watched all the thoughts he had been sitting with since their mating cross Riley's face. I don't know exactly. Reese shook his head. But her mother was a wolf. I know that for a fact. And her father? No one knows, Reese answered. Either her mother didn't know, or she was afraid to tell anyone. Or maybe she was manipulated into not telling. Reese was starting to have his own thoughts concerning Trinity's lineage, and he wondered if he was anywhere near the truth. Do you think he was human? No. We've had pack members with one human parent before. They still have a wolf, just a weaker one. Do you have any theories? Just one. Reese hesitated. I don't know if I want to say it just yet. Fair enough. Riley knew not to pressure Reese. What do you need from me right now? For now, keep your most trusted men around her. I'm going to call a doctor. We have a pack doctor here. No. Reese's voice was louder than he intended it to be. I'm sorry, I just need to call someone that I trust. I've already let Trinity down enough for one night. Reese sent word to his pack's best doctor. There's been an emergency. Get her as soon as you can. Whatever the cost, I'll pay for it. Hell, take the helicopter. Reese paced the hallway outside Trinity's room. He knew he was forgetting something. Vincent. Is she all right? Vincent answered on the first ring. He must have been waiting on this call for hours. After his calls with both his Luna and his Alpha were cut short, Reese couldn't blame him. Reese heard Vincent let out a sigh. I found her, and she's resting. I'm waiting for a pack doctor from the city to get here and check her out. Oh, goddess, is she hurt badly? Vincent really cared about Trinity. She's been hit in the head a few times, and she's unconscious, and I'm sure she'll be exhausted when she wakes up. I just hope the doctor is here by then, Reese added. I'm so sorry, Alpha. I should have gone with you. I should have not left her earlier this evening, Vincent said sincerely. No need to apologize, Vincent. You did as you were ordered to do. I would have told you to go as well. None of us expected this to happen. Who attacked her? Was it someone from the pack? Who would wish our Luna harm? We have a treaty with this pack, and we know she wasn't attacked by wolves. Wait, what? Vincent gasped. Then who attacked her? Warlocks. What? Reese growled as Vincent shouted into his ear. What do Warlocks want with the Luna? I don't know, but I intend to find out. Reese peeked into Trinity's room to see her still unconscious. I have another meeting, which will have to be pushed to another time later in the day. I'll keep you posted. But Vincent? Yes, Alpha? When we get back, she is to be watched more carefully at all times. Yes, sir, I can promise you that.
For the second time in one night, Trinity woke up in an unfamiliar place with her head pounding. At least this is much more comfortable than the last time. The Warlocks, the fighting, the kick to the head. Reese. Where's Reese? She tried to open her eyes, but even the faintest light felt like knives in her brain. She groaned. She heard Reese talking, but it sounded fuzzy.
Are you awake?
It was more clear this time. Not really. Trinity's voice didn't sound like her own. It was muffled.
How are you feeling?
Like my head is about to explode. It felt like an accurate description. She hoped the Warlocks were in worse shape than she was.
A doctor is on his way. He should be here any minute now.
Does he carry a pharmacy?
I didn't ask. Reese chuckled. He was impressed by Trinity's capacity of a joke at a time like this.
If he doesn't, he's fired, Trinity growled.
Reese laughed again and brushed a lock of hair from Trinity's face. It was the first time he had touched her so intimately in private, without maintaining some kind of act for other people. She remembered the kiss they shared earlier, her first kiss, and she longed for another. She wanted to know what it was like to kiss him behind closed doors. She tried to push herself up into a seated position, and her throbbing head forced her back down on the bed. Rest, little bunny. Trinity had heard Reese speaking this gently before, but never to her. I thought I was going to lose you.
You came for me? Reese was quiet. Trinity squinted her eyes open to see the concern on his face.
Of course I did. Reese stroked her hair again. You're my mate.
When Trinity looked into his eyes, her desire for him was stronger than the pounding in her head. Despite his insistence that she was nothing to him, Trinity knew he could feel the mate bond too, and it was growing stronger by the day. He leaned in, breathing her scent. His soft lips just brushed against her own when he leaped back. There was a light knock on the door.
Who is it? Reese cleared his throat. It's Dr. Griffin. I'm here for the Luna. Reese eagerly threw the door open and ushered in a man in his early 40s. He was dressed in a casual business suit and carrying a dark blue duffel bag. Griffin, thank you so much for rushing over here. Reese guided Griffin to the bed. She sustained a lot of injuries and is probably just coming down from all the adrenaline. She's been drifting in and out of consciousness, primarily due to a couple of blows to the head.
As Reese detailed the events of the night, Trinity struggled to remain conscious. She tried to focus on his voice as flashes of the last few hours came back to her. Why could she smell the Warlocks when no one else could? What happened to her eyes when she tracked them running away? And lastly, she remembered waking up as she was being carried. She'd tensed in fear, thinking the Warlocks were dragging her away again. But it wasn't the Warlocks. She was back in Reese's gentle arms. Her eyes fluttered open to his bare skin, glowing in the moonlight. She'd known then that she was safe. You can go to bed if you would like, Alpha. It's late, and I can update you in the morning.
No.
Hearing Reese's voice so close soothed her.
I'll stay here.
She was safe.
Reese hissed at Dr. Griffin as Trinity winced for the third time. Griffin glanced up with a warning. I can't be any more careful, sir. Luna's not wincing because of me. She's wounded. I'll kill them, Reese swore.
Trinity squeezed her eyes tighter. It's fine. It just hurts.
Griffin lowered his hands from her head to look at Reese again. I won't know anything else without a scan. I'm guessing you want to avoid that? Werewolves had healing properties that Trinity didn't have. The only medical scans they did were to make sure that bones could be set properly before they healed in the wrong position. Do you think she needs one? Reese asked. Head injuries are tricky, sir. We wouldn't want to wait until things get worse.
Trinity groaned. It's probably nothing. I just want to take a pain pill and sleep.
And if you have a concussion and never wake up? Reese asked her.
At least the pain will be gone, she mumbled. Reese growled, but Trinity didn't even have the energy to roll her eyes at him. She huffed. If you're so worried, you can monitor me. Wake me up if I stop breathing.
Not funny, little bunny. Griffin chimed in. She's not wrong. If you check every few hours, then fine. But if she has any problems with her vision or balance, then we need to get her to a real hospital, immediately. Do you understand? Yes. Trinity and Reese answered together. Griffin opened his bag to retrieve a small vial. One dose will be enough. It won't wipe out everything, but that's a good thing. Pain is there as a warning sign.
She lifted her hand to him, opening and closing it like a child for a bottle. Her annoyance slipped into her voice. Yeah, pain good, death bad. Please, I need this to stop.
Goddess, she sounds awful. Reese grimaced at her pain. Griffin checked in with Reese and the Alpha nodded. Griffin quickly filled the syringe with the medicine and motioned for Trinity's arm. He found her vein and pierced it with the needle. Reese watched the plunger go down and felt his stomach tighten again. That won't be too much? He asked. Griffin shook his head. Just enough to get her some relief so she can fall asleep. You won't have to do much when you check on her. Make sure she's breathing and can speak without slurred speech, then let her rest again. If all goes well, then we won't have to see each other anytime soon.
Trinity grinned at him. Thank you, Doctor.
Reese walked Griffin out of the room and shut the door behind him. Reese trusted Griffin. He was one of the few people that Reese trusted with his mother. Still, he needed to make sure that no one knew about the attack. Not until he knew what was going on. Griffin, Reese began in his Alpha command voice. You can't tell anyone what happened here. Griffin nodded, though he was forced to obey anyway. Of course, my Alpha. Reese clapped the doctor on the shoulder gratefully. Reese? Riley called from down the hall. Reese turned again to face his cousin. Yes? He couldn't handle any other bad news. I'm about to watch security footage. I waited in case you wanted to see. Reese didn't just want to see it. He needed to. He had to understand how this attack happened. Lead the way. The security room at Riley's Alpha house was smaller than the one at Reese's. It made sense, given that Riley's estate was smaller too. It still had plenty of cameras and security precautions, though. They had at least 3 angles of the front of the house, which let Reese see exactly what happened there. He growled well as the first attacker snuck up behind Trinity. She managed to fight him off well, but once the others surrounded her, there was nothing she could do. She was outnumbered. Riley whistled appreciatively. "She's a fighter, your Luna." "But she lost," Reese snapped. "I was right. She's too weak to be my Luna." Riley barked at him. "Reese! Look at her!" He pointed to the screen where the attackers hauled Trinity off into the distance. "She could have gotten away easily if she could shift, but no! The goddess cursed me with a mate that has no wolf." "She has something," Riley argued. "She's not defenseless." "She might as well be," Reese pushed back from the security footage. "A Luna will always be their alpha's weakness. Or your greatest strength. Don't push her away just because she needs you." "They all need me," Reese roared. "My entire pack. Your pack, too. How can I protect them if I'm worried about her?" He hadn't thought of anything but her since the moment she was taken. Riley reached for him, but Reese threw off his cousin's hands. He didn't need comfort. He needed a mate who wouldn't cost him everything. How could she be so weak and still strong enough to break me?
Trinity didn't remember much of sleeping that night. Reese might have talked to her once or twice. The medication blurred that. It wouldn't surprise her if he didn't. Maybe he found something else to do than babysit her headache. She felt better by morning, though. Her head still hurt, but it didn't pound. She didn't want to die or vomit. She gently shifted to the edge of the bed to get up. She turned her head too quickly. She winced at the sharp pain it brought.
Panicked, Reese rushed into the room. "What happened? Is it getting worse?"
He's still so worried, she thought with a thrill. Last night changed everything. She grinned at him reassuringly. "I just moved my head too fast. I'm much better. I think I can shower and change. Then we can go. We're behind schedule already."
Reese cared so much about the order of things. She figured he'd care about that. But Reese instead walked to the window and opened the curtains. The room faced the front yard, the same place she'd been taken from that night.
From the bed, Trinity saw his car was in the same spot. Had they already cleaned the blood off of it?
Reese cleared his throat. "Right. Well, I want to talk to you before you go."
Trinity frowned. What now?
Reese kept his eyes on the yard. "What happened last night will never happen again," he began. His voice was tense and strained.
Trinity verbally rushed to reassure him. "I'm so sorry. I won't go out by myself. I never thought anything like that could happen. I just never thought, I guess. Those men took her because she was his Luna. She always thought the biggest danger to her would be their pack's resentment. This was new territory for her."
"Not just the attack," Reese said impatiently. "The dance, for one. I won't allow it."
Trinity could have laughed. That's fine. She didn't need everyone watching her swoon over him.
"And the kiss," he said. "It was never supposed to happen in the first place."
Agreed. Never thought my first kiss would be forced on me like that.
His eyes widened.
She fought the urge to flush in embarrassment. She didn't need to be embarrassed. Plenty of people waited until they found someone they actually wanted to kiss and touch. She mostly felt embarrassed that a part of her wanted to do it again.
He barreled on. "Last thing. I won't save you next time." Trinity's heart sank at those words. He spoke faster at that. "Either you save yourself, or don't put yourself in a reckless situation, or call your guards."
She dropped her eyes to the floor. Did he really hate her that much? After all this? "I'm sorry I'm such a burden to you," she said.
He scoffed in disbelief. "You're more than a burden." Her eyes snapped up to meet his in shock. Reese's eyes were filled with anger and disgust. "You take and take. Your party, your rescues, and even this conversation is trying every piece of me. How could the goddess do this? How could anyone—"
"How could anyone what?" she demanded. Tears welled in her eyes, and she blinked them back defiantly.
"Love someone like you," he finished.
Everything in her shattered. Thank God she was already sitting because she would have fallen to the ground otherwise. She had no words. No comeback to the one question that she asked herself her entire life. Her mother hadn't loved her long enough to stay alive. Her grandfather hadn't loved her at all. Her mate, the one wolf meant to love her, sneered at the thought of being there for her. He told her before that they would never be anything. But what was she supposed to think after last night? He held her like a lover. He kissed her with a heat that she could still feel underneath her skin. But none of that mattered to him. None of that changed anything. I wish I'd never woken up, she thought. Last night, even with the throbbing pain, for one moment, she was Luna worth staying up for. Now she couldn't imagine why anyone would try to put up with her. She rose from the bed on shaking legs and forced herself to meet his eyes again. How could anyone love her? I guess we'll never know, she said. I'll meet you in the car. She raced to the bathroom, slamming the door shut behind her. She managed to get the shower on full blast before the tears fell. Then she sobbed so hard that she forgot about all the pain in her head. The one in her heart was much, much worse. Trinity and Reese spent the entire ride to the next pack in silence. She stared out the window, blinking her red eyes and praying to the goddess that it wouldn't be a long visit. How could I be so foolish? She thought. She knew that her feelings toward Reese weren't all her fault. The mate bond helped speed them along. She just didn't understand why the bond wasn't doing anything for him. This pack was as small as Riley's, but they didn't have an alpha. They had a prime beta instead. A prime beta functioned like an alpha, but they never really had the same power over their pack members as the alpha did. A prime beta's mate wasn't even technically a Luna. She helped with the women and children, but she had no official role in the pack. She was nice enough to Trinity anyway. She smiled as they sat in the dining room while Reese met with the prime beta. How was the Azure River pack? The woman asked. Eventful, Trinity answered dryly. I still have a slight headache. Don't worry about entertaining me. The boy should be done soon enough. Thank you, Trinity said. Honestly, she didn't say much else for the rest of their short visit, or on the drive back to Red Springs, or the rest of the weekend. How could she say anything when all she wanted to do was cry? The only time Trinity smiled was when Vincent picked her up for class on Monday morning. He greeted her with the customary bow, but Trinity couldn't handle being formal with the only other person who knew what happened that weekend. Vincent, thank goddess you're here. He smiled so wide that she could see every tooth in his mouth. Thank goddess you're still here. We were so worried. I felt awful. Pretty sure I felt worse, she thought. It's not your fault, she said instead. A guard's duty, she cut him off, doesn't outweigh a husband's or a father's. Your family needed you. I'm glad you were there for them. He didn't seem convinced. He started the car, and Trinity relished the thought of being far away from Reese for the next few hours. They hadn't spoken directly since he broke her heart. Again. It was almost worse than the last time. She could be angry back then. Now, she was just sullen. Vincent picked up on it as they got close to school. You seem troubled, Vincent said. Wouldn't you? She sighed. You'd think being kidnapped would be the worst part. What was the worst part? He asked. She shook her head. She didn't want to make Vincent feel any worse. What if he blamed himself for her relationship falling apart? You'd have to be in a relationship for it to fall apart, she reminded herself. Thankfully, they pulled up to her school before Trinity had to answer Vincent's question. Juniper bounced on her feet in the parking lot. She rushed to the door the moment they parked. I can't believe you went to see other packs. Tell me everything. I wish I could. There's not much to tell, Trinity lied. You've seen one pack. She meant to say, then you've seen them all. But the Azure River pack was so much nicer than her home pack had ever been. The woman loved her. The pack welcomed her. And if it hadn't been for that awful kidnapping, then it would have been one of the best nights of her life. Juniper narrowed her eyes at Trinity. Spill it. Trinity ignored her and led the way toward their lecture hall. Vincent trailed them with her books. Trinity hugged her arms around herself for something to hold. Juniper sped up to stop Trinity before they got to the boys. I'm serious, Trin. You seem off. What happened? Trinity tried to smile convincingly. Just a really weird night, but it's over now. You can either tell me alone or tell me in front of Paul and Cedar, but they're gonna see right through this act you're doing too. Juniper looked past Trinity to Vincent. You feel it, don't you? Vincent didn't answer, but Trinity saw him nod out of the corner of her eye. How is it possible that her friends could care about her this much, but her own mate couldn't? If they love me, why can't he? New tears sprang to her eyes, and Trinity couldn't stop them. She turned on her heels to run for the bathroom down the hall. Trinity! Juniper and Vincent chased after her. Trinity ducked into a stall to hide from Juniper. Vincent wouldn't come inside of the girls' bathroom. Juniper, on the other hand, squatted down to look at Trinity through the gap between the stall door and the floor. You can't lie to me now. You're crying. It's not even noon, Juniper said. Why does time matter? Trinity asked between sobs. Because it's not new stuff then. It's stuff you've been stewing about all weekend. If you won't tell me, at least open the door. It's gross down here. Trinity unlocked the door so Juniper could step into the stall too. It was a mistake. Now Juniper was even closer and Trinity was trapped with her well-meaning and way too perceptive best friend. Does this have to do with a certain tall and sexy mate of yours? Juniper knew that Trinity and Reese weren't madly in love, but she didn't know how bad things were between them. Trinity didn't really want to admit it either. Drop it. Did he do something this weekend? Juniper asked. Trinity shook her head, but another sob slipped out when she did. Juniper's face tightened in anger. Did he hurt you? Not physically. Junie, please, I can't talk about this. Says who? If your mate is making you cry, then you need to talk about it. He doesn't get to treat you like crap just because he's the alpha. Trinity shushed her. Don't say alpha here. There were humans around. Juniper rolled her eyes. I don't care about them. I care about you. You're my best friend, and I love you. Juniper was one of a handful of people who loved Trinity. One of the only ones who would ever say it and mean it. No man will ever love me, Trinity thought. Not when she was mated to a man that hated her. Trinity sobbed even harder. Juniper pulled Trinity into her arms. It's okay. I got you. Tell me what happened. Trinity sniffed. Only if you promise to let it go after I tell you. But promise me or I won't tell you. Juniper groaned, but Trinity didn't care. She couldn't go over this more than once. This was the most embarrassing, most heartbreaking experience of her life. Juniper finally gave in. Fine, I promise. So Trinity told her everything. She started with Vincent backing out of the trip and went all the way to when Reese asked how anyone could love someone like Trinity. It was honestly kind of amazing to watch Juniper light up about their dance and kiss. It meant Trinity wasn't alone in having hope before Reese ripped it away and tore her to pieces. By the end of the story, Juniper's claws were out, her teeth bared as she roared. He said what? The stall door shook with the force of her voice. I don't care who he is. I'm gonna kick his... No! Trinity clamped her hands around Juniper's arm to focus on her. You'd promise you'd let it go. I've known for weeks that I'm a mate in name only, but I got swept up in the fake mating of it all. I thought maybe he respected me, even if he didn't love me. But I understand now that that's never going to happen. Why not? Juniper whined. Why won't he just give in? I don't know, but he didn't tell you until after you were marked. He tricked you into this. Are you sure it's even a mate bond? Juniper questioned. Trinity bristled at that. Of course I'm sure. I've felt it. He feels it too. He just doesn't care. He would rather have nothing than a wolfless girl like me. Juniper growled again. Trinity quickly tried to justify it. It's perfect, actually, because I never really wanted a mate, and now I get all the other benefits without all the problems. Just all the heartache, Juniper sighed. Trinity couldn't argue against that. At least I have you. Juniper yanked Trinity back into the hug. She squeezed her so tightly that it hurt. Just tell me when I get to fight him, okay? Juniper joked. Trinity laughed through her tears. When the girls stepped out of the bathroom, Paul and Cedar scrambled back from the door. It only took one look at their wide eyes filled with pity for Trinity to groan. "You were listening in, weren't you?" she asked them. Paul scooped her up into a hug immediately. "Oh, Astro, he's the worst. I can't believe I ever liked that guy." "Yeah, he's not my alpha anymore," Cedar said, joining in the hug. Trinity caught Vincent's eye. He had tears in them. He heard everything too? He looked as heartbroken as she did. He was in the same position as Noah. As much as he cared about her, his loyalty went to the alpha before anything else. She offered him a sad smile. "Come on, we're missing the whole lecture," Trinity said to her friends. They reluctantly let her go. "Can you give us a second?" Juniper nodded. "We'll save your seat." She led Paul and Cedar back to their lecture hall while Trinity stayed to talk to Vincent. "I'm sorry, Luna. So very sorry." Trinity's eyebrows furrowed. "You don't have to be sorry for him. No, for me. I should have been there for you. Not just this weekend, the entire time. I should have known what you were going through and done something." She placed a hand on his arm to stop him. "Hey, how could you have known?" she asked. "It's my problem, no one else's. You shouldn't have to go through this alone," he told her. "If one of my pups ever had to feel the way you do," a protective anger flashed in his eyes. "They won't," she said. "It wasn't just to comfort him. You would never let that happen. And I'm not alone. You've helped so much, without knowing how. Just keep being my guard and my friend, and tomorrow I'll be stronger." Vincent's chin wobbled sadly. "You're too strong already," he said. "On the way home, we'll get ice cream, all right?" Trinity chuckled in surprise. "Ice cream? Do I look 5 to you?" "My Uncle Eddie has a shop, and his homemade flavors always cheer Heather up. Let me take you," Vincent added. As much as Trinity wanted to say no and stop being a burden to everyone around her, she could see how badly Vincent needed this. "Fine, but only 1 scoop, and we'll take the long way," she said. His eyes lit up. "The alpha won't like that," he said conspiratorially. "Perfect. Let him be unhappy for once,"
Reese asked as soon as the door to his office shut, without even looking at Trinity.
After their weekend with the Azure River Pack, Trinity hadn't seen or talked to Reese again all week. Not until it was time for them to make their next set of pack introductions. "Yes. Is this really all he called me into his office for? I can pack my own bag, Reese."
"I expect you to be as convincing as you were last time." Reese still didn't look up from his desk. "Can you manage that?"
"I guess that depends on you, doesn't it?" So that's what this was about. How could Reese expect her to play the part of devoted mate if he was going to be cruel to her behind closed doors?
What's that supposed to mean? Reese finally looked up from his desk.
"If you can behave yourself, Fido, then so can I."
Reese growled loudly at his least favorite pet name. "Are you trying to provoke me, little bunny?" Reese questioned, to which Trinity smiled. "You better get this out of your system now."
"Gladly. Got a baseball bat?" Trinity asked.
Reese shook his head. "As long as no one else in the pack, or any other pack for that matter, sees this attitude, I don't care. You can make your little threats all you want."
"Little threats?" Trinity approached the desk. "You are so condescending."
"Yes, little threats. That's all a little defenseless bunny is capable of. Now, if you're done wasting my time, we'll be leaving here in 20 minutes for our next pack visit. I trust you are ready." Reese walked towards the door, but Trinity blocked his path. "Trinity, be a good little bunny and get out of my way. What's your problem?"
"What's my problem?" Trinity was seething. "I didn't choose to be your Luna. You feel the mate bond too. But you didn't get what you wanted, and all you've done is take it out on me since I got here. Just because I don't fawn all over you or worship at your feet like all the she-wolves at your party throwing themselves at you. You're acting like a child. If you're concerned about me being nice to you in front of others, maybe you should have the decency to treat me with respect."
"You've got it wrong, Trinity. I don't need a Luna who worships at my feet. That's not why I'm rejecting you. It's because you're too weak to have a wolf. Reese gently picked Trinity up by her shoulders to move her out of the way. I've given you everything you could ever want, Trinity. Any other woman in this pack would kill to have what you have. Don't forget that. All I'm asking you to do is do your duty as Luna.
Trinity looked away to hide the tears in her eyes. Everything I could want? No one wants to be told they're incapable of being loved.
20 minutes. Reese walked out of the room without looking back.
Trinity was relieved to see that Vincent would be joining them this time, even though he was clearly worried about his mate. She seemed to be in the clear, but any complication with pregnancy was scary, especially for a werewolf. Just after sunset, they pulled up to the Black Moon Pack in the roomy SUV, rather than Reese's impractical sports car. They'd ridden in silence, with Trinity reading a book in the back seat the entire way. The Black Moon Pack directly bordered their own. It was about the same size population-wise, but they had significantly less territory. They had lost a territory battle many years ago when other packs seized much of their land. Vincent said they had been jealous of larger packs for a long time, including ours. The plan was to stay overnight, but before Trinity even got out of the car, she could sense the animosity radiating from the dozen or so pack members standing outside.
Reese, how are you, young man? Stanley, the alpha of the Black Moon Pack, approached the car as Reese stepped out. He was in his mid-30s with bright blonde hair and dark green eyes that were almost black. Reese opened the door for Trinity. There was a lot for her to learn about being a Luna, but she was catching on quickly. She took his outstretched hand, and Reese pulled her into his side, wrapping an arm around her. I'm wonderful, Stanley. How have you been?
From the widening of Stanley's eyes, Trinity knew he was not expecting her. I thought this was just going to be another negotiation. Who might this be? Stanley asked.
This is my mate, and the Luna of my pack. Reese looked at Trinity. Trinity, this is Stanley, alpha of the Black Moon Pack.
Well then, congratulations are in order. You should have told me in advance. I do not have a suitable room ready for you to stay in. Trinity could sense Reese's annoyance, but she knew it wasn't about the lack of accommodations. There was some kind of rift between these two.
We will stay elsewhere tonight.
Trinity didn't know this was part of the plan, but she hid the surprise from her face. Well, come inside. Tell us about your mate. Then we can get to business. Stanley's voice sent chills through Trinity's body, and not the good kind. Something about him was off. It must just be because he doesn't like Reese. As much as Reese annoyed her, Trinity's bond with him didn't allow her to like anyone who wanted to cause Reese harm. Stanley led the way into a grand dining hall, where all of the men who stood with him outside stationed themselves around the room. Stanley rang a small bell, and a maid hurried in. We need 2 more place settings. Stanley didn't hide the annoyance in his voice. Our guest tonight brought his new Luna and another pack member along with him. As the maid hurried away for more dishes, Reese leaned down and pretended to kiss Trinity's ear.
Don't eat anything they give you. Trust no one here.
Trinity nodded, but hid it in a small giggle, as if his kiss tickled her. You seem to have found yourself a beauty, Stanley smirked. He had been watching them. Trinity felt her skin crawl.
Yes, she is very beautiful, isn't she? Reese's arm was around her shoulder, and he gave her a squeeze.
Wherever did you find such a lovely girl? Stanley didn't take his eyes off Trinity. I would almost rather be alone with Reese than have to keep dealing with this creep. Almost.
She's been hiding in my pack all along.
Isn't it funny how the things we want the most are often right under our noses? The maid arrived with the food. Trinity knew she wouldn't be eating any of it, but she was happy for the distraction. It's a shame you have to leave. I'm sure we can ready a room for you during the meeting, Reese. Stanley's words made Trinity stiffen. He hadn't taken eyes off of her.
No, I must insist we go elsewhere. I'm sure you remember how things were when you were newly mated, Stanley. Reese mocked with a hint of finality.
I do remember those wild days, Stanley laughed, still watching Trinity. If you insist, then I will not push it. But the offer still stands. Are you hungry, Luna? Trinity had been pushing the food around on the plate without actually eating. It's been a long day. I suppose I'm not very hungry, she replied, and Stanley smiled. But surely you need your strength, Luna. Stanley laughed, especially if you aren't getting much sleep, as your alpha suggests.
Enough. Reese stood up. It's time to get on with business.
Very well, Alpha, Stanley smirked. Follow me. Stanley and Reese left the room with just over half the guard following them, leaving Vincent and Trinity behind with 4 of Stanley's men. Your Alpha better agree to the terms this time. One of the guards snapped as soon as the doors closed. I'm getting sick of having to deal with these constant meetings. Our Alpha is not interested in an exchange of territories, Vincent stated flatly. Lands were decided generations ago. It is no fault of ours that your previous Alpha made poor decisions. Your pack has more land than it needs. Your Alpha will give up something. The biggest of the men stood next to the door that Reese and Stanley had left through. Trinity was not comfortable with him leering over the exit between her and Reese. But then again, Reese said he wouldn't save me next time. He can pay with his land, his life, or his Luna. The big man gave Trinity a particularly nasty look. He can pick, or we can. You will not lay a finger on the Luna, Vincent growled. Is that a challenge? The big man smiled. It's a fact. Vincent tensed his body in preparation for a fight. Trinity quickly scanned the room for a weapon. She wouldn't be much help against this many men, but she would fight as hard as she could. You think you could stop us all by yourself? The man positioned himself between Vincent and the door and took a slinking step toward the table. I will, or I will die trying. Trinity's eyes went wide. She didn't want Vincent dying right now, not with the baby on the way and 2 small children at home. Look how scared she is, one of the men laughed, mistaking Trinity's apprehension for fear. The Luna has little faith in you. Vincent stood as the men encroached. If he had a plan, it was time to act on it.
Hey, I'm Trinity, if you're wondering what happens next. Download the Pocket FM app now and listen to the exciting episodes of Chosen by Fate, Rejected by Alpha.